The carpet lifted, the house exhaled, and cold air crawled up my wrist. Beneath the floorboards, a seam of darkness ran like a scar. What if a room had been hiding under my life, watching, waiting for me to notice? I pulled, and the wood answered. Our bungalow came with creaks like old speech. The inspector had shrugged at a draft near the living room vent. Harmless, he said. But nights grew stranger. A hum, a faint thud. My dog staring at the floor as if it were rehearsing breath. Then I found a sliver of brass where there shouldn't be one, an orphaned ring flush with the boards. I tugged. Nothing. I slid a butter knife, levered gently, and the wood lifted by a whisper, revealing a black breath that smelled like coins and rain. Neighbors had whispered legends, prohibition tunnels to the river, speakeasies sealed after raids. I laughed them off at first, but a century-old deed in our closing folder named a cellar that wasn't on the blueprints, a room erased on paper, not in wood. I upped the floor joists, listened for hollow notes with a rubber mallet. Thunk, thunk. Then, silence, like a missing tooth. I chalked a rectangle. The span ran beneath the piano, square where the plans claimed solid earth. The house was biting its tongue.
A contractor friend eyed the gap, lowered a snake cam, and frowned. Stone walls, ladder rungs, no utilities. He warned about rot, asbestos, permits. I heard only the word ladder. Something intentional slept down there. Not a crawl space, but a choice. I filed a minor access permit, paperwork that asked what I did not yet know. The clerk stamped approval with a thud that echoed my chest. If the room was history, I'd meet it legally. Light on my head, mask on my face, witness instead of trespasser. At dusk, I lifted the panel fully. A breath of earth and iron rose, old as pennies on the tongue. My headlamp carved a white cone down iron rungs bolted to stone. I tested the first step. It groaned, but held. The house watched, silent as a held note. The room wasn't large, long as a dining table, twice as wide. Shelves carved into stone. A glass bottle with a cork asleep at silt. On the far wall, a door of sheet steel, painted once green. The paint blistered like lichen on a fallen log. On the shelf, a folded newsprint, edges embalmed in dust. I teased it open. The Oregonian, May 1926. A headline about raids on bootleggers. In the margin, a pencil arrow pointed to a name. H.A. Sullivan. Our address written lightly beneath it.
I traced deeds. County Archives coughed up a photograph. Hugh A. Sullivan, a tinsmith. No arrest record. Just a face in a hat, staring slightly off camera, as if listening to a sound beneath his own shoes. He built something to outlive a headline. Back below, chalk marks crawled along the wall. Triangles, hash lines, a star. Codes or carpentry? I compared spacing to joists and found a rhythm. The star sat where the steel door met the stone, a last flourish, like a signature smuggled in geometry. The door's edges were riveted shut, except for a round opening, like a gill. Inside, a rusted wheel. I braced the ladder, pressed my gloves, and turned. It protested with a scream that seemed too loud for the ground. Then a sigh, and the door released. I swung it inward. Beyond, a second, lower space. Half-height, timber-braced, packed with wooden crates branded Sullivan Tin Works. Not liquor. Craft. The lids had tin cutouts nested inside like puzzle pieces, wrapped in oilcloth gone translucent each. Tucked between crates, a cigar box with a padlock feathered by rust. I hesitated. Whose story was this to open? Then I saw a tag tied in frayed string. For whomever keeps this house together. It felt like permission from a century away.
The lock gave with a cough. Inside, ration books, a black fountain pen, a roll of blueprints, and letters tied with a green ribbon. The first envelope carried a date, April 9, 1942. In slanted ink, to Aiko, should they make us go. The letters unspooled a life. Aiko worked at a corner laundry. She and Hugh shared tea, tin cutouts, friendship. With Executive Order 9066, her family prepared to be taken inland. Hugh drafted a plan: hide tools and money, leave a map inside the house. In a blueprint tube, a hiding-scape. The hatch, the ladder, the steel door, a second cavity marked with a star, for A when safe. If she returned, she could reclaim livelihood in tin. If she didn't, the house would keep the promise longer than any man. I hunted phone books, directories, then a neighborhood forum. A reply pinged from 3 blocks away. My grandmother was Aiko N. We still have the laundry sign. We arranged to meet on her porch at sunset, with the letters carefully between us. She read the cursive as if hearing an ancestor across rain. Her hands shook at the star. She never came back to this house, she said. Camp, then work in Spokane. But she kept a tin star over her desk till she died. The map felt heavier.
Open the lower cavity fully, document everything, and donate what belonged to Aiko's family. I borrowed extra lighting, a tripod, a notebook. This was no treasure hunt. It was an answer to a question an old house had asked. The next storm found us mid-descent. Rain hammered the roof. The house answered in shivers. I crawled through the steel door. Then a crack like a snapped bone. A joist shifted, dropping grit into my hair. The ladder kicked an inch from the cutout. I froze. Water fingered along the wall, then gathered at my knees. A slow, insistent seep. Somewhere, an ancient line was weeping. The blueprint's margin listed a valve by the star. If it blew, the crawl would flood. If I misread, I'd break the house. I inched to the second cavity. The star chalk was almost gone, varnished by time. I scraped with a fingernail and found a shallow plug. Beneath, a small brass wheel, green with age. My palm slipped once, twice. The third grip held. I turned. Pressure moaned through the wall. The trickle slowed, then stilled. Above, the house settled like a lung exhaling. I lay on my back in the wet dirt, heart in my throat, tasting iron and rain, laughing once, sharp, small, at how a century draws a straight line.
Behind a crate, I found a metal locker, school green, with Sullivan punched in dots. Inside, tin shears, patterns, a ledger. On the last page, a neat sum and a note in Hugh's hand. Held for Aiko. If not claimed, let the house choose. We carried the ledger and letters upstairs. Rain gave way to a pale window of sun. On the table, the numbers turned into names. Deliveries, small debts forgiven, a loan to A circled twice. The room brightened, as if the house had opened its eyes wider. A week later, with family present, we signed the donation forms. The Historical Society took the letters and ledger. The tools, after discussion, went to Aiko's granddaughter, who planned to hang the tin star above her workbench. She cried. So did I. Back home, I sealed the hatch with a clear acrylic panel and a proper frame, a window into the station, where a plan waited out bad weather and worse history. Not a secret anymore, but a story you could point to without prying anything loose. Sometimes rains, the house hums, and I swear I can hear the green door breathe. I place my palm on the panel and count 1, 2, 3, and think of Hugh turning a wheel in the dark, of Aiko's star, of promises made to places and kept by wood.
Houses are promises in lumber and stone, kept by ordinary hands. A room hid under mine, not to hoard, but to hold a future safe until it could be lived. The hatch is closed now. The story is open, and every creak sounds like someone keeping watch.